All right, hello everybody. My name is Zach Watson, and I'm proud to bring to you our first Nirsa Region 1 Student Professional Development Committee broadcast for the year 2017. Happy New Year. I hope everybody had a great 2016 and is ready to get this new year off to a great start. As I said, my name is Zach Watson from the University of New Hampshire, and I will be your host today. Thank you to everybody that's watching live. We are broadcasting live on the Nirsa Region 1 YouTube channel, but feel free to share this with your coworkers and colleagues, and anybody else that you know in the field that might benefit from this broadcast, because you can watch this after the fact on the YouTube page, so you don't have to watch it live. So there's lots of different options for you to see this, and hopefully we share this with as many people as possible. Big thank you to the committee that put this together, including Kevin George, Pat Shank, and Sarah Chauvelin. They helped put in a lot of hours planning this event. Planning this webinar, so big shout out to them for helping put this together. Today we are discussing landing your dream job. As everybody knows, it is job hunting season, and lots of people, whether it be second year GAs, seniors in undergrad, or just people in general looking for jobs, are out there applying, putting together resumes, cover letters, and all that fun stuff. So we have 4 collegiate recreational professionals and graduate assistants with us today, and they will be providing lots of tips, tricks, and anything else that they experienced during their times looking for these jobs that they can share with you. Introduce them throughout the broadcast as they come on answering questions, so look forward to that at that time. Don't forget, during the broadcast, you can tweet at Nirsa Region 1. Any questions that you have, Pat Shank will be running that account, and he will be looking for your questions. And if there's anything that pops up that you want to ask, whether it's a specific panelist or just everybody as a whole, feel free to tweet those in, and we will definitely get those answered by the end of the broadcast. So let's go ahead and get started. First up, we have first-year graduate assistant at Clemson University, Rachel Jones. Rachel, how early did you start your search during your senior year, and what would you have done differently throughout the entire process?
All right, well, hi Zach, and hi everyone that's watching. Thank you for having me on the panel today. Greatly appreciate the opportunity to be here. So to give the viewers some background about myself, I went to Rutgers University in New Jersey as an undergraduate student, and I began working in the intramural sports program my freshman year as a basketball official and softball official. I worked for the program all 4 years I was at Rutgers, and knew about halfway through my junior year that I wanted to pursue a career in campus rec. So now, like you said, I'm a first-year graduate assistant for intramurals at Clemson University. So to dive into your question a little bit, really something to know about me is I'm a huge planner. So I insisted on attending the Nirsa annual conference my junior year, really, in order to get more involved, just learn more about the organization, and other graduate assistants really was for me, and whether I wanted to pursue that. So really, after connecting with people from other schools and different regions, volunteering a little bit, and attending sessions, I was confident that I wanted to pursue an assistantship. So the summer before the start of my senior year, I would go on to Bluefish jobs every so often and try to get a feel for the website and try to stay updated as much as I could. I really didn't start editing my resume or cover letter until maybe October, November of my senior year, because the big advice that I remember getting when I started my search was really just start preparing those materials early and try to get a jump start on that as early as you can. So really, so you can have others look at it, make edits, and kind of perfect it before you start submitting it to schools. And, you know, I will certainly say that I had to edit my cover letter and resume a couple of good times before I submitted it anywhere. So it's really good to just get that done early before you are ready to apply. I mean, I'm happy about how my process went and the timeline of my search. Starting early made me feel a lot more comfortable, and it allowed me to have a few mock phone interviews and mock Skype interviews before actually viewing the schools that I want to go to. So I think it just helped me feel really prepared and ready for when all that started to come along. And I really, if I just went back and gave myself a bit of advice, I would just tell myself, I know it's hard, try not to stress out too much, but just trust the process, and, you know, you'll get the assistantship that you want. So yeah, really my whole timeline was starting the summer before my senior year, preparing a lot through the fall months, and then ultimately I received my offer from Clemson in January. So that's a quick snapshot.
Awesome. Thank you, Rachel. And especially for the trust the process Alabama quote coming from a Clemson person right now. So we will now go to Taylor, who is a first-year graduate assistant at Towson, and we will ask her the same question. Taylor?
Thank you for having me on the panel as well, and thank you to all the viewers for watching this. I actually started my process pretty late. So I did my undergrad at Florida Southern College in Lakeland, Florida, and I was part of the intramural team all 4 years. I was a criminology major, and I decided that about February of my senior year that I wanted to continue in collegiate recreation. I didn't want to leave the team that I was a part of. So I really started throwing resumes out at everything that I could. I applied to about 30 schools, sent all that information out, and really I had a decent resume because I was applying for internships through the criminology program. So that was helpful, but I was really stressed for that good February, March month until the annual conference in April. One thing that I would say about searching for a graduate assistantship is to probably start in January and be able to send out that information and do the mock interview. It's really beneficial. It sounds a little silly when you're thinking about it, but it was super beneficial for me to do that and get my nerves out. And then I decided to come to Towson. So that's kind of my little snapshot of how I went through the process and how I got to Towson.
Great. Thank you, Taylor. So we're going to go to Nick now. Nick, after finishing your graduate assistantship and getting a full-time job at UConn, what have you observed in the GA search that's changed in the last couple of years?
All right. Well, like everybody said, thanks, Zach, and thanks to everybody who's watching. A little about myself, like Zach mentioned, I'm the coordinator of intramurals and tournaments at UConn. My first year here, my third as a professional staff member, I did my grad assistantship at Western Kentucky. And the biggest thing that I've noticed about the process is the changing timeline, especially based around when the Nirsa conference is. Obviously, this year, with it being in February, I think schools are looking to get an earlier start on the process than they typically are. And again, that can change from year to year. So one thing that I would definitely recommend to students that are pursuing grad assistantships, especially if you have programs that you're interested in, do your research and don't be afraid to reach out to kind of try to establish what those schools' timelines are going to be. Every school is going to have a different timeline based on their relationship with different graduate programs, based on whatever their processes are, human resources wise. And so definitely knowing what the timeline of the schools that you're interested in are looking at. Obviously, a lot of schools like to interview at the Nirsa National Conference to get that face-to-face. But if that's not possible for you, knowing ahead of time that a school that may be interested in you is not going to be able to meet you at the conference, perhaps they'll look to make different accommodations or anything like that. Another thing that I've noticed has changed as well is the program areas are even shifting a little bit. On the intramural side, you're definitely starting to see more of a competitive sports model at many different places, as well as take a student to lunch. A couple years ago at a Nirsa National Conference, I went out to lunch with a graduate assistant of student training and development. And that was something that I never saw during my process. So, different program areas, different schools are looking to perhaps add graduate assistantships or shifting more towards a coordinator, entry-level professional model. So those things are always changing, and I think are going to continue to change, whether it's, based on a lot of different things, what schools are looking for, their relationship with graduate programs. So I think the process is always changing, whether it's year to year with timelines or as we see the field kind of start to shift and grow. So it's definitely a different search every year. And like I said, the biggest thing you can do is know what you want and don't be afraid to reach out, whether it's you or through a mentor or anybody like that. If there's something you want, make sure you get that information that you need to assist with the search process.
All right. Thank you, Nick. We're going to go over to Alex now. And Alex, can you share with us your experiences coming from your undergraduate program and what you learned from that experience?
Sure thing, Zach. Hello, everyone. I'm Alex Sweeney, Assistant Director of Recreation and Intramural Sports at Hofstra University in New York. I think that the most prominent lesson I learned when I was trying to obtain a graduate assistantship was patience. I attended the University of New England in Maine and studied biology. It wasn't until my senior year that I realized that I wanted to professionally be located in recreation. So in terms of being behind the 8 ball, I was there. I had immersed myself in UNE's recreation program all 4 years I attended, but I only took one sport management class, academically speaking. So when the time to start applying for GAs came, I found myself consistently on the outside looking in. It wasn't until July after I graduated that I received a call from Franklin Pierce University's rec director, Doug Carty, letting me know that I was their choice to be their GA who ran the intramural program. Those months of not knowing, it taught me patience. Taught me that I'll always end up where I'm supposed to be, and the same holds true for where I've been and where I'm at now.
Great stuff, Alex. Thank you very much. So we're going to circle back around to Rachel. Rachel, what factors made you decide to leave the region that you currently, or that you work for undergrad and have been in your whole life, other than Clemson, knowing obviously Clemson was going to win the championship this year?
Well, I'm not sure if anyone really could have predicted the rematch against Alabama would have been that amazing, but great football in the warm weather sure have been a plus so far. But truly, I think the biggest factor for me to decide to go to a different region was because I wanted to experience a place that I wasn't familiar with. I grew up in New Jersey. I went to college in New Jersey. I even had an internship at another university within New Jersey. So, you know, in case you haven't noticed the trend yet, I just kind of wanted to explore other regions and live somewhere completely different than what I was used to. I loved Region 1 and the great professionals and students I met there, and I still love Region 1, but I wanted to broaden my horizons and just experience, you know, a new state and really just like a different culture that I wasn't used to, because there are a lot of differences between the two. And, you know, really what better time to do it than for 2 years of my assistantship. So it was a great decision for me. And I would encourage people who are searching for their assistantships now to just be open to attending, you know, a school in a different region. Because really you can live or do anything for 2 years. So kind of why not experience it now during your assistantship?
Very insightful. Thank you, Rachel. Going back to Taylor, Taylor, can you explain how you made a decision to come up from Florida Southern all the way up to the freezing, chilly Towson University, and how you've grown personally and professionally from that?
So, like I said, I'm from Lakeland, Florida, where it's currently, I think, 75, and that would be so nice right now. But coming from Florida Southern, it was a really, really small school, about 2,100 students. So one thing that I really wanted to focus on when getting my assistantship was to go to a bigger school, to experience the bigger academic. And, you know, we didn't have a football team, so it's nice that Towson has a football team. So just a bigger atmosphere altogether. One thing that really drove my decision to come to Towson was when I met them at Nirsa. At the annual conference. It was the second interview I did with them, and I just really clicked with the professional and the other GAs. So that was one thing. I really wanted that family atmosphere like I had at Florida Southern. So that was one of my main deciding factors. I did decide to stay in the same time zone as my family. That was one of my limiting factors when I was looking for a GA. So that was one thing that kind of drove me, but Maryland was the farthest that I had applied, made my mom a little bit nervous, but I ultimately did pick Towson. Growing personally and professionally, I would say moving somewhere completely by yourself really makes you more self-aware of yourself, which I think has been a plus this first semester that I've been here, which is nice. Professionally, I would say I've been given a lot more professional development. opportunities. I was able to go to Region 1, become the Maryland, DC, Delaware State Student Leader. So things like that have kind of made me grow professionally in the field of collegiate recreation, but also in the environment of Nirsa altogether.
Great. Thank you, Taylor. Nick, you also left Region 1 to go to a completely different region for your graduate assistantship, and now you're back. So can you discuss the challenges and the benefits of that experience somewhere completely new?
Yeah, definitely. So when I was applying, there actually were not really a lot of GA ships in Region 1, so I kind of knew from the beginning of the process that it was going to be more than likely that I was going to have to leave the region in order to obtain a grad assistantship. So I was pretty open to that from the beginning. It's interesting that although I did my grad assistantship in Kentucky, being at a school that had 11 GAs, it wasn't just being in Kentucky that was different. I worked with fellow grad assistants that were from Georgia, Michigan. My boss at the time there was from Colorado. So it's not just the region that you go to, but the people that you work with as well are going to broaden your horizons. And I think that was definitely helpful as well, that all of us were kind of coming into a new environment and all of us were kind of facing the same challenges of adjusting to a different place. As far as coming back to Region 1, when I started my professional search for my first professional job, it definitely wasn't a requirement. I applied to jobs in California, North Carolina, all over the place really. And coming back to Region 1 was definitely a benefit, but it certainly wasn't a requirement. As far as the challenges and benefits of coming back to Region 1, one of the benefits for me certainly was having a larger network. You know, if there's students that I'm looking to help get grad assistantships or anything like that, having a network in Region 2 is certainly helpful. Knowing people around the country is certainly helpful. As far as the benefits to me coming back to Region 1, when I first moved back to the region, I was at a very small school in New Hampshire, about 4,500 students. So having that network already exists certainly helped me when it came to whether it was getting into regional tournaments or just being at different conferences, having people know me from when I was an undergrad, having my alma mater be in this region. So I kind of had some people, you know, people knew that I went to undergrad at UMass, so they had people that they could ask there about, you know, me certainly helped. I know being at a small school sometimes doesn't provide the same opportunities, but for a lot of young professionals, when you're first getting in the field, you're going to get that first job at a small school. And it's definitely nice, again, to have that kind of built-in network already to reach out around the region and ask how people are doing things and what sports are popular within the geographic area that you're in. And already kind of knowing that as well, you know, being from Connecticut, doing my undergrad in Region 1 really helped. But again, it wasn't something that I was necessarily dying to do to get back to Region 1. But once I landed here, I definitely appreciated it. It's nice to be back close to my family after being away. I think it must be required that we tell everybody looking for a GA ship that you can do anything for 2 years, because that was definitely something I heard as well.
Absolutely. Awesome. Thank you, Nick. So going to Alex. Alex, you spent some time doing a part-time position over at Princeton. Can you discuss how that helped you in attaining a full-time job?
Sure thing. So Kevin George sat down with me the summer after my GA ended that May and pointed me in the direction of Princeton University Campus Rec. Sending that application was one of the best decisions I've made professionally. Being familiar with the Princeton area, it was a great fit. I'm from New Jersey. Speaking specifically to my position there, I knew that I wanted to have a more holistic recreation experience. I had strictly limited myself to intramurals, and I quickly learned how valuable exposing myself to the other facets of rec can be. Having 37 sport clubs and witnessing the behind the scenes, the daily operations, absolutely everything that goes into a sport club program was eye-opening and oftentimes jaw-dropping. But I couldn't have learned from better people. Mitch Room, who runs a sport club program there, will be one of those lifelong connections for me, the ones that we all strive to create. And the rest of Princeton Campus Rec, Dave, Jess, Dan, Kara, Matt, Brian, Mary Beth, they all gave me the opportunity to really grow as much as I could as a professional in every aspect of rec. And that's what I value most from my time there.
Awesome. Thank you, Alex. Going back to Rachel. Rachel, can you share with us some of the things that you did and some of the experiences that you gained during your undergraduate career, whether it be your involvement in Nirsa or just things you did there, that you feel contributed to your opportunity to get a graduate assistantship at Clemson?
For sure. So, well, I became a Nirsa student member about 3 years ago when I attended my first annual conference. And I think just being a member of Nirsa and having the opportunity to attend different regional and national conferences throughout my undergrad experience really contributed to me getting an assistantship, because at these conferences, I was able to see the larger impact that collegiate recreation has on students across the country, and really the purpose for why we're all here. And these conferences were a great professional development and personal development for me. Conferences kind of helped me grasp the bigger picture of student development and how that relates to our line of work. It gave me the opportunity to connect with countless other students and professionals across tons of different regions. It gave me also the opportunity to learn different ideas for programming that I could bring back to my university, and really all these different parts and facets that I learned at these conferences, I was able to touch on those in my interviews and kind of how and relate those back to how I would be an asset to, any department that I was applying for. So I would definitely encourage people to try to go to any regional or national conferences if you have the opportunity to do so. And then I think another valuable experience and involvement opportunity that I had was the chance to officiate and serve on different committees at a few Nirsa regional basketball tournaments. So I had the opportunity to attend University of Maryland's regional basketball tournament as an official, and really had the pleasure of being able to work on different committees, being on an operations committee and an all tournament committee at UMass Amherst and Boston University. So I really appreciated being a part of all different regional basketball tournaments throughout Region 1, and all were wonderful to be a part of. And I really learned countless transferable skills and how to improve my officiating abilities. I learned a great deal about how to evaluate others and how to teach my students and just be a better teacher for the entire program. So that's something, and those are skills that I still carry with me today, and were points that I could talk about throughout my interviews. And then I think lastly, I had the opportunity to, I mentioned earlier, I had an internship at another university in New Jersey, and I actually interned at Princeton University's campus recreation program with Jess Ward. And, this opportunity really allowed me to immerse myself in a different population of students, understand how another program runs and functions, because even though we're in the same state and kind of right up the road from each other, things can be so drastically different. It really just gave me the opportunity to plan large and small scale events. And that internship was a lot of fun, a lot of hard work, and it kind of gave me a small taste of what it would have been like to work at a different institution other than my university, kind of like an assistantship. So really, I'd say all these experiences, along with all my experiences at Rutgers with their intramural program, were great talking points in my interviews and really helped me when I was searching for my assistantship.
Fantastic. Thank you, Rachel. We also see that you're in the running for the Region 2 student leader position, so good luck with that coming up here in a few weeks. Taylor's also in the running for the Region 1 student leader position. So Taylor, can you tell us how you felt that your Nirsa involvement has opened doors of opportunity for you and what you've learned from that involvement?
Yeah, so basically, since I started my assistantship search in Florida so late, I wasn't really involved as much as I wanted to be in Region 2. I did make a lot of connections at the annual conference last year, but when I kind of told myself, like, you need to dive into Nirsa more. So I did go to the Region 1 conference, which was amazing. Thanks, Pat, for helping put that on, and Kevin George and Zach. But being able to go there, I was able to make connections specifically in my region, which was really nice. It was a little difficult because I went there by myself, but being able, now I communicate with people in Rhode Island and Connecticut and Pennsylvania. So being able to have those connections is amazing. When I first got here, I applied to be the Maryland, Delaware, DC State Student Leader. I was awarded that position. So being able to host the state conference was really nice with Matt Grimm. Being able to, meet Earl and be able to create those connections with people has been really great. I feel like it gives me the opportunity to bring something more back to Towson, and along with my graduate assistantship, being able to, inform them on things that's going on with Nirsa, kind of be the inside man for Towson, which is really nice.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Taylor. Going back to Nick. Nick, can you explain to us the difference between looking for a graduate assistant position and the different process it is to looking for a professional position in campus rec?
Well, to start off, it's a much slower process. For anybody I know when I applied to my grad assistantship, it was emailing my resume to one person. But when you're looking for a professional position, you're going through human resources in most cases. So that alone creates a much longer process. Also, they're looking for more. Obviously, we talked about with grad assistantships, you can do 2 years anywhere. But when it comes to a professional position, not that you're certainly locked in forever, but you want to know that you're going to a place where you aren't going to be looking towards an end date. And the school that you're looking to work with also wants someone who's going to be there long enough to provide continuity for them as well. All the things that go along with that, there's just a lot more considerations. You're going to have to look at health insurance and what insurance and retirement plans that a university provides. I know that was something that I had never looked at before, because to that point I was on my parents, and now I was going off on my own, and that was something that was important to me to look at. Along with the kind of longer things that you're going to look at, one of the things is that in my experience with interviewing for GAs, they ask a lot about your experience. What have you done with training? What have you done with conflict resolution? What have you done with student development, professionalism, all that? When you get to the professional level, it becomes about other things. It becomes about philosophy a lot. What's your philosophy on student development? What's your philosophy on officials training? What's your philosophy on scheduling? What's your scheduling on handling staff and player and participant discipline situations? So it's a lot less about what you can do and what's your philosophy and what's going to guide the things that you do and the avenues that you go. I tell people a lot when they're applying for their first professional position, the further up you get, the longer out you really have to plan. When you're an official, maybe you attend training or clinics, whatever's required. You show up 30 minutes before your shift and you ref games. Then you become a supervisor. Maybe you're helping put on training. So you're looking a week, 2 weeks, a month out from trainings about what I need to do. When you're a GA, now you're looking at perhaps scheduling seasons. Maybe you're ordering equipment, so you have to be on top of that. You have to know what you need and how long it's going to take for it to be ordered and arrived and all that those kind of considerations. And then again, the further up you get, now maybe, in my job, I'm planning out a whole year's calendar of sports and activities and tournaments. So the further up you get and the more you kind of grow in the field of campus recreation, kind of have a longer out view. And I think that's the biggest difference, whether it's going from an undergrad to a grad assistant or a grad assistant to a professional or a professional to a professional at a bigger school. You kind of have to, it's more about thinking and seeing the bigger picture, whether it's planning a year out or whether it's having a philosophy and kind of sticking to it. That to me is the biggest difference the more you grow in this field.
All right. Thank you, Nick. We're going to go to Alex now. Alex, one of our previous broadcasts, we talked all about mentorship and how important mentorship is. Can you tell us why it's important to have a great mentor when you're looking for a job and what you value in that relationship?
Yeah, sure thing. So I've had the privilege to work for some of the best in the business, and without those people, without those experiences that they allowed me to have, I wouldn't be the person I am today. I planned my life to be working in a lab, and it took one influential person to show me that I can truly enjoy what I do and at the same time have a tremendous amount of fun doing it. She's Patty Williams. She's the Assistant Director of Athletics for Club and Intramural Sports at the University of New England. She gave me the opportunity to work for her my freshman year, and that passion to participate in intramurals built the framework and landed me where I am today. So over the course of my time in the field and in Nirsa, those relationships have allowed me to narrow it down to three things that I've learned that young people need to be successful, and particularly in this field. It's you work hard, you show patience, and what I've learned is above all else, you demonstrate resiliency. All of those are an integral part of my life, and it's thanks to those personal connections I've made from the three places I've been, and now those connections I'm in a position at Hofstra that I consider my dream job, and that's the title of this broadcast, is landing it, and I have, and it's thanks to those people. I also want to give a shout out to Pat, Sean, and Patty here at Hofstra. Boom. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Alex. We talked a little bit about internships on this broadcast. We actually, one of our panelists, Nick, oversees interns at UConn. So Nick, can you talk about how you ensure that they receive a great campus recreation experience and they're prepared for the next step when that time comes?
Absolutely. I think one of the things that stuck with me the most is when I was a grad assistant, my boss told me, don't ever think of yourself as a grad assistant. Think of yourself as a coordinator, because that's what you're going to be someday. And he said, I don't think of myself as a coordinator. I think of myself as an assistant director. So I kind of always try to take that approach with it. And I think one of the things for whether you're an intern or a grad assistant is finding the balance between doing the things that you're good at and continuing to improve on them, but also forcing yourself to kind of step out of your comfort zone and take on some things that maybe you're not the best at, you're not the most comfortable with. And at the same time, when you do that, understanding, we talked about mentors, but understanding that people are there that are going to help you. In most cases, whether it's an internship or a grad assistant, nobody's going to throw you into the deep end without a safety net. They might try to make you think that they're not going to come in and help you, but if you make a true effort to do what's asked of you and you need some help, you need some guidance. It's one of the great things about this field is that people are always willing to kind of help out, and pick up the slack where you may need some more guidance and things like that. It's a great field, higher ed in general. People are always kind of willing to help out and develop you as much as they want you to help the program. They're also looking out for you and your development. Another thing I think with internships and grad assistants is kind of letting an intern or letting a grad assistant kind of guide their own experience. I talked before, at least on the intramural side, about how a lot of things are going to a competitive sports model. I was an intramural GA. I didn't have that club experience really. So for my degree, I needed to complete an internship, and I did ours with club sports because I knew that a lot of the jobs I was applying to, a lot of especially smaller school jobs that I felt like I had a very good chance to get, were going to be a competitive sports model, and that you kind of have to have that background or be able to speak that language. So basically, and having the ability to kind of advocate for yourself and what you want to do and what you're going to need to succeed at the next level, I think is an important part of an internship or a grad assistant experience.
Awesome, thanks, Nick. More and more universities and programs are going to internships. Schools like UNC, Notre Dame, Wisconsin, Illinois, Villanova, Duke. I mean, there's just so many programs out there that rely on interns, and it's a great opportunity. Whether it's some programs that are looking for people that are between their undergraduate and they're going to look for a GA after, or if it's after your GA and it's in between looking for a professional job. There's lots of opportunities out there, so don't forget about internships when you're looking through for things. Awesome. We actually did have a Twitter question come in, so I'm going to turn over to Pat Schenk for that.
Yeah, so we had a question here from Scott Flickinger. Shout out to him. I'm going to direct this question over to Alex here. I think it best serves him. So Scott asks, what are some aspects regarding experience or cover letters from students that jump out at you?
I think that for students coming in trying to gain a GA or an internship, I think that collaboration, specifically with special events, with professional staff is huge. It shows initiative, it shows creativity. For changing environment in rec, you never know what the next big thing is, and the only way that you're going to find that is to, I guess, just try different things. And I think that these new events, like for example, a glow in the dark dodgeball is something that I'm looking into right now, and something along those lines is huge for these students that are coming in and want a GA or want an internship.
All right, thanks, Alex. And Nick, do you have any thoughts on that as well?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a cliche, but I think going, above and beyond is the biggest thing. I mentioned, with referees, you show up, you ref a game, you go home. Even supervisors, I think we all in this field kind of have a general idea of what an intramural supervisor or a facility supervisor does. But having that additional experience, and not just, I know one of the things that was talked about with my resume was not just one-off experiences, not just I showed up, I did this for a day and I went home, but I planned this, whether it's a glow-in-the-dark dodgeball tournament, or if your program is lucky enough to have a student advisory committee for the rec department, serving on that, putting on programs for your peers, anything that really goes above and beyond kind of what the job that you're hired to do is always going to stand out on any resume. And then all the typical things like attention to detail and not having mistakes on your resume and things like that. Obviously, in a lot of situations, your resume is going to be in a really big pile. So anything to either make it stand out or not get thrown out right off the bat is crucial.
All right. Thank you, Nick. So we have another question that just came in, and we're going to send this over to Rachel. For those of you so I guess, Rachel, you probably did some mock interviews and things like that. How did you coordinate those, and how did you go about finding that mock interview experience?
Yeah, so through my mock interview experience, it was actually set up by an assistant coordinator that just came into Rutgers last year, and he had a great network at Rowan. So I actually did a mock phone interview with Kevin George, and then I did some mock Skype interviews with people out in Ohio that had just gone to Rowan and kind of were still connected with Paul Gubek, my coordinator, who kind of set this all up. And, it's all of that. Everyone in Nurse is just trying to pay it forward. So I think the professionals understood that there were students at Rowan that were looking for assistantship, so people at Rutgers could interview them and kind of give them feedback, and then kind of vice versa. So I was just fortunate enough that my coordinators understood that I was going to be going through the assistantship process, and that I would have definitely appreciated kind of getting those nerves out, like Taylor said earlier, just going through the motions of doing that phone interview, the Skype interview, getting all those nerves out, and then having that opportunity too. So it was really kind of the people that I was connected with that I was able to for me.
Great. Taylor, do you want to chime in? Maybe not. All right, it's all good. That's all the questions that we have for all the panelists today. Again, huge thank you for sharing your experiences and your insight into all these processes, paying it forward through Nirsa. Special thanks to Earl Cabellin, the Region 1 director, and for supporting us and putting us on the right track and all that good stuff. So also to Rochelle Harvey. She helped us out a lot with setting up this broadcast. She did a lot for us last year. and just making sure that that we have this all ready to go and put it all together. So she was a big help. Make sure that you subscribe to this channel. We're doing more. We'll be doing more webinars throughout the year. We have another one coming up on Friday, February 17th. That will be about all things Nirsa conference. So it's the week before the Nirsa conference. We'll be talking about everything going around with that. Pat will be sharing a lot of information about what the student leadership team has going on. Also, please don't forget that today, professional state directors, if you're a professional and you're interested in becoming a state director, the applications for that are due today in Region 1. So this is specifically a Region 1 thing. If you're interested in standing for election, that's the way to do it, is to apply, and you should have received an email from your state leader with the info on that. Thank you again to the panel. Thank you to Kevin, Pat, and Sarah Chauvelin. And until next time, we are signing off, and I hope everybody has a great 3-day weekend. See everybody later.